about you? I'm Hank. Welcome to Hamiltonville Farm. In this video, we're going to talk about what you're going to need before or right after you decide to purchase your farm. Before we actually get into the video, me and Gina were talking the other day about how cool it would be to help out smaller YouTubers with a shout out type thing. We do a lot of collaborations with big channels. Somebody made a comment a while ago, like, why don't you help the little channels? Well, I've done that in the past, but it's always been a collaboration. So I thought, what if it would be cool if we just shouted out like a really small channel that makes good content and they have no idea. I've never met the person, never talked to them on email.
I know when we were like small, less than 1,000, we would have loved that. That would have helped us big time.
Yeah, for sure. No kidding. I don't know who this person is. I've never emailed them, never called them, don't follow them on Facebook, but I do know what their channel's about. It's a guy that lives out in the country. He's a young kid, and his name is Diesel Dom, D-O-M, Diesel Dom, and I'll put a link to his channel right here. So he does some really cool stuff with like he done an old army truck like we've done. He's done an old first gen Dodge Cummins, like a really sick burnout with like a hand throttle or whatever. It's really cool. He's got horses and things like that. So it's a really neat channel. He's only got a few hundred subscribers, so go check out.
Yeah, let's help him out.
Yeah, help him out. Yeah, so the only thing I ask is that when you get there, you say Hamiltonville Farm sent you in the comment section, so he at least has some idea, right? But the thing about it is, he's a subscriber of mine, so I'm trying to help out the small channels that are subscribed to me. So if you're a small channel and you're watching,
you could be next.
You could be next. I don't know. I'm not going to do it every video, but maybe once a month, maybe twice a month, I'm going to shout out small channels, less than 1,000 subscribers. So if that's you and you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button and you might be the channel that I shout out next. We're actually going to talk about the top 3 things that I think you need for starting your farm or shortly after you start your farm. But there's going to be a lot of things thrown in there as well. But the first thing you're going to need is a plan. Your plan needs to detail what you're going to do with your property. Are you going to raise livestock? Are you going to be like us and be flower farmers? Are you going to raise garden vegetables? Are you going to raise crops? What are you going to do with this farm that you're buying? So that plan needs to lay it all out step by step. Your plan has to be flexible. You look at your finances and you think, this is my 1-year plan, my 3-year plan, my 5-year plan, and then make it flexible so that you can adjust accordingly based on weather, based on finance situations, based on job situations, family, life situations. The plan has to be flexible enough to change and still meet those goals for your 1 and 3 and 5-year strategic plan, if you will. But that's not the only thing. We're also going to talk about a few more things that you need before or soon after you buy a farm. After you have a rough draft of your plan laid out, let it set for a day or two and then go back and revisit it, because you're not going to be able to plan everything out like in one setting. You can get the bones or the structure of it, be okay. Try to get the gist of what you're trying to achieve with your plan. Let it set for a couple days and then come back and look at it with fresh eyes. And then think about what the next thing is that you're going to need. The next thing you're going to need is a tractor. You're definitely going to need some type of tractor to get everything accomplished that you're going to want to do on your farm. You know, I've got the backhoe already put on this one. That's so I can remove some stumps that may be in a garden area that I want to plow. Or, you know, you're going to need some implements. So I recommend that you get the biggest tractor that you can afford when you're making your plan for your farm. As you're thinking about it, you need to make sure you think about, what size do I need? Do I need 4-wheel drive or 2-wheel drive? Do I need it to have a front end loader? Maybe you're going to do work without using a front end loader. These are the considerations you need for a tractor. There's a lot more to it than that, obviously, but you know, what's your price point? How much am I going to pay for it? Of course, we obviously love Brutus, our Branson tractor here. We're really happy with it. It's 55 horsepower. It's on 75 acres, and we do a lot of different stuff with it, but we also couple it with a lot of different implements. So as your plan progresses, and we talked about your resources, your plan has to include the cost of equipment. And so a tractor is definitely something you're going to need to buy. But what kind of implements do you need? We have a variety of implements here. All of our implements are Homestead implements. They are partners with the channel, so that's the reason why we have all their implements. But I'm telling you, you know, we have a rototiller here, we have a landscape rake here, we have a box blade here, we've got a land plane, we've got a rear blade, we've got a grapple. So all those things are important when you're trying to figure out, what do I need for my particular situation, or what kind of farming am I going to be doing? Implements ain't cheap. So if you're going to have to pick 1 or 2 to start with, pick the ones that are going to meet your needs. Hey, I know I'm going to use a rototiller because I'm going to plant a lot of crops. Okay, we'll get that. Maybe you need a disc. Maybe you need maybe you need that box blade or landscape rake first. You know, maybe you need a bush hog first. If you're buying property that's been unattended for a while, maybe you need a bush hog or brush cutter or rotary cutter. So you might want to look into that, getting that first. But you're going to need a plan, and you're going to need a tractor plus implements. So that's two things you're going to need. You're going to need that plan before you start. You need to lay it all out. And then soon after, or even before you purchase your farm, you're going to need to buy that tractor plus the equipment. So what's the third thing that you're going to need? Let's talk about it right quick. The third thing you're going to need is resources. And what I mean by resources is not money or equipment or things like that. What I mean by resources is you're going to need like an ag center in your county. So once you get to the county that you're going to be purchasing your property in, find out where their agricultural extension office is, or their ag center. Some people call them extension offices, some people call them ag centers, but essentially every county has a place where you can go and get resources, a lot of times free resources, to help you start your farm. They've got grants available, they've got programs available, they've got clubs available. And that's another resource that you can do, is some of these Facebook groups or some of these forums on the internet. They will help you if you have questions about, hey, listen, I'm new at this, I don't know what I'm doing. Go to these forums and get in these Facebook groups, because people love helping people, despite what the news says, right? So people love helping people. So get involved in these groups and stuff, because that's a valuable resource that you can use to make your farm successful when you start it up. There's some things to consider. Now you can see here, we live out in the middle of nowhere. So there's things that you need to think about when you're purchasing a farm or a piece of property that you're going to start farming on. The first thing you need to consider is your cell phone service and your internet provider. I'm telling you, our signal is horrible out here. I mean, I'm out in the middle of nowhere and I'm getting like 1 bar, maybe 2 bars at the most. On a clear day, I'll get 2 bars. And it's not good at all, especially if you're a YouTuber. You know, here I am trying to upload videos to the internet. A lot of you guys even go to like county libraries and stuff to upload your videos. I mean, I'm not quite there yet, but I can definitely see how that's happening. So you need to think about your cell phone service and your internet provider. Why is that important? One, you've got to research things as you start. Hey, I've got this crop planted and I need to know what's my soil type and stuff. So you can go online and research that kind of stuff. 2, you can think about, I get on these forums and ask questions real time, almost real time. If you get, you've got a good cell signal and you can get on your smartphone, you can just start typing away. Super important to be able to research real time what's going on with your garden and your farm and your property, so you can get answers quickly. Let's talk about some considerations that you need to think about when you're looking for the farm or the property that you're going to buy. We briefly touched on cell phone signals and internet providers, but there's something you need to think about too, especially if you're going to be deep in the woods, right? You need to think about health care. How close are you to a hospital? Do you have a medical condition that may require you to make a frequent trip to the hospital? Or maybe you have an injury on the farm. How long will it take you to get to the ER? Something like that is often overlooked. What about first responders? How close to a fire station am I? What happens if my barn catches on fire? What happens if my house, God forbid, our house catches on fire? Those are horrible, horrible life circumstances that could happen. And so you need to be prepared for that. Either have those appropriate precautions in place, or know where or how long it takes for those first responders to arrive at your house. If you're going to have livestock on your property, where's the watering source? How are you going to store the food? All these things you have to think about while you're making your plan. Those are some considerations. There's a couple more I want to go over as well. What about grocery stores? How close are you going to be to groceries? A lot of you are going to plan your farm to be off-grid or maybe self-sustainable. That's cool and it's very commendable. But what about the interim until you get to that point? You're still going to have to buy food, right? And if you got kids, they probably want Lunchables. So, do you go to a supermarket or a grocery store somewhere? What about farm supplies like hardware, nuts and bolts and things like that? That's another thing you need to be considerate of. You need to plan out all these things. Either, hey, once a week I'm going to make a trip into town, because you're just not going to be able to go whenever you want to. It's just not going to happen. So these are all things you need to consider. Now, we talked about some things that you need, and we talked about things that you need to consider. So think about that when you're considering getting a farm, or soon after your farm has been purchased. You need to make sure that you've got all the ducks in a row, so to speak.
I think one of the main things is to not be afraid to fail. I mean, This is my first year of trying my hand at pumpkins,
Yeah,
and
sure.
we had a flood and then worms. So, I mean,
we were fighting Mother Nature, weren't we?
Yeah, so I was determined. And will I grow them again next year? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe I learn from this year and think, okay, well, maybe this is not a particular crop that I can grow in our area. So don't be afraid to try, make lots of notes, and you may fail.
Yeah, I think that's important. Making notes is really important. So, hey, listen, we hope you got a lot out of this. Click here to watch more videos from Hamiltonville Farm. The little white circles for you to subscribe. We'd appreciate you subscribing to the channel. Take care. God bless you guys.